My name is Jenny Baker, and trading is as easy as you make it. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about support and resistance, supply and demand, or what I call all of these different levels, areas of interest, right? What are they, and how do we find these key levels on a chart to be a more profitable trader, to be a withdrawing trader, to stop being a break-even trader, to get better at our options, our stocks, our crypto wallets, day trading, whatever it is you're doing long-term. The idea is to help use these areas of interest on a chart to make better decisions in your, technical analysis. So before we go into the different kinds of support and resistance, supply and demand, first, let's define just real quick, what's the difference between supply and demand and support and resistance. So most people who have worked with me a long time know that I really lump all this together. I call this an area of interest. I learn how to see them with my own eyes on the chart, and I make really simplistic decisions. But just so we at least define these accurately, supply and demand is literally just an imbalance of buyers and sellers, right? It's an imbalance of price on the chart where a big move typically happens in that area. It's unconfirmed, it's untested, and it relies on newly formed price levels. It also can kind of be a deeper zone or kind of a larger area, where support and resistance, on the other hand, has multiple confirmed failed attempts or rejections, is usually a much smaller kind of clear price level or area on a chart, relies solely on historical price action and price levels where prices stopped before, and basically all it is confirmed supply and demand. So for that reason, I obviously lump all this together and make it a really easy to see area of interest. Some different types of support and resistance are areas where price stopped, such as like wicks, peaks, previous supply and demand essentially, like we just went over, engulfing momentum candles, any of those things. Even trend lines, channels, moving averages, and some other indicators can also act as kind of a form of dynamic support and resistance that moves and doesn't stay stagnant. Measured moves like Fibonacci, whole numbers, quarter points. A lot of people put psychological levels into this category and or the next one, such as volume, accumulation, order blocks, and liquidity voids. All of these things, in theory, are support and resistance and or previous supply and demand, right? So again, we're going to lump all this together and call these little areas of interest as a way of learning to see the chart, as a way of training your eyes to see these areas of interest so you know how to react. Now, before we do that, let's talk about some consideration points when we see these areas. First and foremost, we're looking at the preceding move and the rejecting move from. So like when price does make that big supply and demand move, when price does break out and form that engulfing candle, how fast is it? How big is it? How soon does it come back to retest? Those are all consideration points. Is what kind of move? Does price edge down with a lot of small candles and many, many, many hours and hours between? Or does price shoot to that area and reject far? When price rejects off, does it reject hard and fast? I'm talking huge candles, huge wicks, multiple wicks, lots and lots of peaks over and over again? Or does price just kind of touch that level and bounce up? Does price just kind of touch that level and just slightly move away? Those are all considerations first and foremost. Second is time, which we already kind of touched on a little bit, but the time frame that support and resistance, supply and demand is found on first is huge. If you're looking at daily support and resistance, it obviously has a much higher value than the 1 minute chart or the 5 minute chart. That's a much more significant level. How much time you spent at that level, again, determines some of the significance. If this was a huge, huge move up, wicks and rejects and will not stay at that level whatsoever, that tiny amount of time makes it a much stronger area. If price stays there and just fails to break through, different kind of support and resistance. Candle formations, candle patterns, other correlating factors around that same level, those are all huge consideration points. If anything, I think they're one of the bigger ones because people look at these areas of interest or support and resistance, right? And they look to make decisions based off of that without looking at previous candle formations, candle patterns, or any other correlating factors, and they make a decision because it's at a level. To me, that's a poor choice. I like correlating information. I like to have a whole basket of reasons I'm buying or selling versus a single, hey, look, price touched this point, I must sell. Hey, look, price touched this area, I must buy. I feel like that's a horrible way to be, but that's just me. And of course, last but not least, how many times did price reject that area? So there's a lot of schools of thought on this one. Obviously, the supply and demand is untested, so that's the first one. But beyond that, you've got your support and resistance. Some schools of thought would say multiple touches mean stronger resistance or support. Some schools of thought would say the more times price has come up to retest that area, the weaker it is. So kind of going off of either of those, we're not going to try to be the voice or the guru on that topic. We're just going to find a way to look at this area of interest, look for correlating factors so we can make a healthier decision of when we're buying and when we're selling. That's all. Areas where price stops, such as wicks, peaks, previous supply and demand. Let's take a look real quick at what that looks like on a chart. So right now we're on S&P 500. We're on the daily time frame. I'm going to normalize this view a little bit on trading view. So support and resistance, right, is our wick zones and previous supply and demand zones. So let's find a couple here on this chart. If I zoom out, it would be much better because we'd see how they're respected in the future. But we're going to have to go with today's chart instead. So if I'm just using where price is currently at and I'm going to look up, all of this right here is still not tested yet. It is to the back, but all I'm going to be looking for is previous wick zones where price has stopped before. Really, really simple. This is a pretty trending chart on a pretty high time frame, so we're not going to find it the same way. But let's take a look, see real quick. I'm going to go to the line chart. First, before I do that, take a look at these wick zones. Pay attention to where all the wicks sit. Wick, 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 wicky, wicky, wick, wick. All of the wicks, pay really close attention. I'm going to go to the line chart. So support and resistance is just areas where price is rejected at more than one time. That's in here. Let's take a look here on S&P. This is the 4-hour time frame. I had to go down to the 4 hours so I could find at least multiple touches. First thing I'm going to do is see if I can't normalize it. Actually, I don't think I can because I'm on this fast forward mode. Let's see if I can move it over. There we go. On the 4-hour time frame, I'll go to the line chart so you can see. In order to find previous support and resistance, I'm looking for places where price rejected at least twice. Areas like this, and this is what it looks like with the candle. We've got several wicks of rejection. A little hard to see, a little janky. Sorry, it's kind of ugly. There you go. I marked this with a yellow line, so when I go to show these different kinds of support and resistance, aka areas of interest, you can see them too. So here you go. You've got multiple touches. I'm going to go back to the line chart so you can see multiple touches, multiple touches. We've got multiple touches here. 1, 2, that equals verified support and resistance. We broke through it. We've got 1, 2, all the way back into this area. Of course, all the way over here, we respected it, broke through it, rejected. All the way over here, we've got multiple touches, and if I keep going down, we've got some, of course, here, and I could find quite a bit more, but just to kind of keep it simple, 1, 2, this is a beautiful wick zone, so you guys can see that. There you go. So on this, we're going to go ahead and let this play now, so you can see how these in the future will play out. So I'm going to press play. We're at 3 times speed currently. I'm going to speed it up a little bit because this is a long way to go. 10 times so we can see how these areas are respected. Really just paying attention. I'm going to go to the day chart and zoom in a bit. The first things first, we came down to this level. We rejected off of it. We knew that prior to that happening. We broke through. We came back up to the level we already knew. We rejected off of it once and twice. We broke through, came down to our next level. Came all the way up. We're still booming. Give it a second. Should be playing. There we go. Came back up. We're forming new levels. Came all the way down into the zones that we drew. In the past, this is the future. Well, potential future, in all fairness. Wish I could speed this up a little bit, but I can't. So we're just going to let it keep playing out. Remember, these aren't exact lines. These are just potential supply, support, and resistance. Watch it come down. Respect the areas that we've had multiple touches before. Remember, support and resistance is literally just confirm supply and demand. So this is where we're sitting currently on the price, daily time frame. Beautiful interaction. We already knew that. We know how this plays out because this is where we are today. But that's what we're looking for support and resistance. I'm going to zoom in again, go to the 4-hour time frame. Support and resistance. I'm going to go all the way over to our yellow bar. Hopefully not manipulate any of those lines too bad. We're looking for multiple touches. There we go. We've got a support and resistance level. Multiple rejections, support and resistance level. Multiple rejections, support and resistance level. Notice mine is not necessarily on the wick zone. I'm looking more toward the peaks. You can choose whichever way your eyes see best. Again, same thing over here. We've got multiple rejection, And what do? We get a respectable level. There's a lot more in between, but I'm really just looking at key levels. So here we go again. We've got enough touches to qualify as support and resistance that is confirmed, support and resistance that is confirmed, support and resistance that is confirmed. So that's one way to go take a look at this.